You knew when De'Aaron Fox hit that step back jumper to end the third quarter and tie things up that it was kind of game over for Golden State, but they did what they've done the last few games against Phoenix and against Memphis. They gave a little late push to try and make this thing a contest. Unfortunately, the Spurs have only one all-star actually, but realistically, they have all-stars, plural. The Warriors tonight, they had Draymond Green. We'll tell you what that means for the future of this team coming up on today's show.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This show is free and available on YouTube, wherever you consume your audio podcasts. We thank you for hanging out with us on the program today. My name's Charlie Walter, riding Stag today as we enter the All-Star break. The Warriors fall to 29-26, unable to pick up a home victory against San Antonio. 126-113 was the final score in this game. How close were they to covering the spread? It was 7.5, so Warriors don't cover. But I'll tell you what, Warriors gave it a good fight for about 2 quarters and 10 minutes. The exact numbers that the Warriors struggled to towards the end of the third quarter was, what was that run there? It was a 24-8 run by San Antonio to end the third quarter, tied the game at 94 on a De'Aaron Fox fadeaway. And from there, Warriors never led again, and you figured they never really had a chance. But they didn't say quit down the stretch, and they didn't quit at all in this game. They just ran out of talent to match up against De'Aaron Fox's 27, Victor Wembanyama's 26-9, Keldon Johnson, who was just so sneaky all game. Whenever the Warriors made a push, it was Keldon Johnson hitting big shot after big shot. He had 21 in the game, and then Dylan Harper had 14 off the bench. The Warriors just did not have the firepower to compete. You heard from the broadcast crew 3 or 4 times that the Warriors were seeing ghosts out there. Last athlete to see ghosts, Sam Darnold in a Jets uniform, and he's now in a Super Bowl champion. So it happens from time to time. You could see ghosts and recover, but the Warriors, specifically Brandon Pajemski, could not recover after seeing what Victor Wembanyama did to Pat Spencer on the block. What do you call that? He just grabbed it, just snatched it from midair as Spencer tried to put one up. And today was one of those games where you see the lack of explosiveness and overall talent from Pat Spencer that Kolsky always talks about in terms of, I think he's an NBA player, but tonight's prime example of why, like, he does have ceiling and limitations to his game. He had 9 points, did Spencer, 4 of 11, and Pajemski got off to a really nice start, I thought, with his float game. On the baseline, he was knocking down pull-up threes. He was aggressive. And I think he missed his final 7 shots after starting off 5 of 5. This was one of those Pajemski starts where you're like, man, if we could get this kind of Brandon Pajemski consistently, we'd be humming. And you got the Jackal and the Hyde in just one game. You know, Dr. Jackal in the first half, Mr. Hyde in the second. Whichever one's the good, whichever one's the bad. Mix and match there. I do this every time. But he was a minus 27. He struggled for the Warriors. Golden State's best player today. Go figure, after we spent an entire block roasting him on the last show and that Guy Santos should be taking some of his minutes. Draymond Green proved why he's still a valuable member of this team and why when the challenge is the biggest, he tends to step up for it a little bit more than usual. I mean, he was pretty good on Wembanyama overall, even though Wemby had the 26 points and the minutes were staggered. I mean, he was 8 of 17 from the floor. It's Wemby, man. He's incredible. I thought Draymond did about as good in that first half as you can do when it comes to guarding Wembanyama. And frankly, his offensive game was really good. He had 8 assists, only 2 turnovers. The Warriors as a team finished with 11. In fact, the Dubs started the game. We'll just pick it up from the start and kind of run you through how this thing went. I mean, 0 turnovers for the Warriors in the first 10 minutes. Golden State had 10 assists on 13 baskets with 0 turnovers to start. It was an unbelievable first half effort. Dubs were moving it. They were getting offensive boards. Felt like Gary Payton's arms were everywhere. Guy Santos's arms were getting into passing lanes. They were just making life difficult for San Antonio. I think a big reason had to do with the fact that the Warriors were just knocking down shots. Crowd was into it. It was one of those vibes game, and you can't rely on vibes for a full 4-quarter game when you're that much worse of a team than the opposition. Despite beating them twice this season, you know, you beat them with a full roster, and to not have Steph Curry in today's game, you'll get him back after the All-Star game, along with Kristaps Porzingis, but to not have those two guys, I mean, you just don't have enough talent. I mean, it's not groundbreaking analysis to say that the Spurs were just flat out better. And when Keldon Johnson's hitting shots and, you know, De'Aaron Fox is knocking down a trio of 3-pointers, even in a game where Wemby struggled to shoot it, you're still going to have your hands full with that San Antonio team. And seeing ghosts, the Warriors did. Even when he was on the bench in the second half, it just felt like they were rushing some shots. You saw Podziemski in the final minutes grab a rebound that actually would have been a huge basket in the game. And instead of landing and just putting it up from 4 feet, he tried the little volleyball tap in. Probably heard some footsteps, as they say in football. And those footsteps belong to the 7'5" Victor Wembanyama, who only had 2 blocks, shockingly. As a team, the Spurs had 5 blocks, but it doesn't matter what appears on the box score when it comes to Victor Wembanyama. You know how he impacts a game. He was so good in that last contest against the Lakers, was Wemby. He started off with, he was actually on a list with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and a few other players as the only dudes in NBA history to score 25 points over a 7-minute stretch, 8-minute stretch, I believe is what the exact stat was. And we know Klay's done it. He's done it multiple times. Curry's done it multiple times. And Wemby was on that list. Did not pick up where he left off. In fact, struggled early from the floor, as did the entire San Antonio Spurs team. But forget the fact that the Spurs were just 10 of 39 for 26% from the floor. They were just too good for Golden State in this one. So the Warriors enter the All-Star break 29-26. Let's talk about the second half. Let's get to some of your comments, and let's tell you the moment where this one really got out of hand for Golden State. It's coming up on Locked On Dubs.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Today's episode is brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in-network, nearby, and has availability, but you also want a doctor who listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking booking in-network appointments with over 150,000 providers across 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. I'll admit it, I've struggled finding doctor's appointments from time to time. I put it off. I can't find someone in network. ZocDoc has made it super easy. Make it easy for you too, and stop putting off those doctor appointments. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. This episode is also brought to you by Wayfair. With the new year here, it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you may as well love the way it looks and it feels. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh, all in one place, from bedding and mattresses to storage solutions in every room. Get you some storage, pick up some new bedding, some accent pillows. It's completely going to change how your bedroom or your living space feels. And right now, get organized, refreshed, and back on track with Wayfair.com. That's Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Let's get back to the show.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
If you're upset with that effort from Golden State, then I don't know what to tell you. This was one of those, I mean, how many times are we going to say it? One of those throwaway games against a team that is just much better than you. And the Warriors gave San Antonio just about everything they could handle until the final few minutes in the third quarter. Golden State had a 16-point lead at one point. We talked about the play from Draymond Green, 17, 12, and 8. He just had a good energy about him tonight, was protecting the ball, was making really good passes. From start to finish, he was the Warriors' best player. And if you want to take away a positive from that, they're clearly not trading Draymond Green this season. Your best chance of being a good basketball team or a better basketball team or winning a playoff series revolves around Draymond playing at a similar level that he did last year against the Houston Rockets in the playoffs. And today was once again proof that he still has those games in the tank. When you need 17, 12, and 8, he can deliver from time to time against one of the toughest matchups in the NBA. Spurs win the fourth quarter, 32-19. And now the Warriors will get a week off, and they'll have the Celtics in San Francisco next Thursday. Curry, Porzingis. It's the return and the debut game for those two dudes. And man, it feels like that knee issue that Curry ran into before the Sixers game was a while ago at this point. And the Warriors really didn't miss too much of a beat. They stayed at about 500 through the stretch without Steph on the floor to wind up 3 games over 500. And in that 8 spot is they enter a tough stretch, I would say, coming up. We'll get to that schedule. We won't get to that schedule in a moment. We'll get to that schedule right now. They got Boston, Denver as the 2 teams coming up out of the All-Star break, and then the wind down the month of February. You got New Orleans, Memphis, Clippers, Lakers into March with the Houston Rockets. So some winnable games in there, but the first 2 out of the break, Boston and Denver, those are primetime games that should be a lot of fun, and we'll see what the Warriors have. But you got to be excited with the Dubs movement today from some of their rotational players. I thought Gary Payton once again had a really good, if not game, had a really good half. Didn't notice his impact too much in the second half, but I do think there was a lot of Podziemski down the stretch, and there were a lot of Podziemski misses and a lot of Podziemski plays that were just not great. And that's what's frustrating about this team, because he was so good in the first half, and you just wished there was some form of consistency from a player like him or a dude like Moses Moody, who airballed a couple threes in the second half. They weren't even close. And you just wish you had a guard that could put up some legitimate points. Like, for example, Cam Thomas of the Milwaukee Bucks stepped into his role today and had Giannis kind of, I don't know if you saw it, but he was making a face like, we may have something here. We may have resurrected Cam Thomas from the dead. He had 34 points in 25 minutes. Again, I know he's not a Steve Kerr system guy. I know he's a ball hog, but this team struggles to score unless it's the first quarter against the Spurs tonight, where the Warriors just took it to them in that first quarter. I mean, they scored 38 points against the league's 3rd best defense. They had 29 in the second, so they had 67 points at halftime and backed it up with 46 in the second half. 21 fewer points while giving up 63 to San Antonio in the second half. So say what you want about the defense. It's had its issues this season, but we know without Curry on the floor, and even with Curry on the floor, it's all going to come down to, can the Warriors find some form of secondary scoring at a consistent clip? D'Anthony Melton did his best in this game, hitting 6 of his 7 shots and 5 of his 6 threes. But again, you saw Melton meandering his way through the lane quite a bit, trying to get some shots off over the much bigger Victor Wembanyama, who's standing in there like a freaking beanstalk, trying to block anything that's in its way. And you just didn't see enough playmakers, enough dudes that were able to break down a defense and get shots that they wanted. Moody, Santos, Draymond, Melton, Spencer, Horford, Post, Payton, Podziemski. Those were the 9 that played tonight. Name one of those dudes who you trust against the San Antonio defense, isolation, that can make something happen when something needs to be happened. I'll wait longer. And the answer is no one. You don't trust anyone because they don't have it on the roster. And fortunately, they do have it on their bench. It's Curry. Question will be, what can they get from Kristaps Porzingis? We're going to talk about Porzingis' potential impact on this team, what their ceiling is at this point at 29 and 26. Is this a team that is closer to the 6th seed or that is closer to the lottery at this point? I want to hear your comments on that. That's kind of the question of this next block. Is this team closer to, the Lakers and the Suns and let's go with Lakers, Suns, Rockets, or are they closer to the Kings? I mean, the Kings are pretty bad at this point, but yeah, we'll say that. The Kings. Are they closer to the Rockets and the Spurs, or are they closer to the Kings and the Mavericks? Give me that answer. Let's talk about the association as a whole. We'll tie a ribbon on the first half to the Warriors season, one that's been extremely strange and stressful and frustrating at times. And we'll look ahead. This is Locked On Dubs.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of trying to figure out your forms, go ahead and meet with a TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They'll handle your W-2s to self-employed forms. They'll work on getting every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today.
Who can stop Steph Curry?
Hopefully we'll never find out.
All right, so a quick recap of the notes to see if I missed anything from tonight's game. You can add in the chat how you feel about the Warriors loss, but I thought there was great energy to start and then even to finish. I do not think the Warriors at any point laid down and let San Antonio walk away from this one easy. I think that's why Mitch Johnson was so upset with 3 minutes left when Draymond had the runway cleared and went to the bucket, got hit on the head and had an and one there to bring it within 10. I think he was telling his guys, this team just came back and beat, granted, a Memphis team that's likely tanking in game and also a Phoenix team that didn't have Devin Booker, but they're feisty is what he was trying to tell his team. And they were able to kind of pick it up down the stretch. Keldon Johnson, a big three, and that was kind of the icing on the cake from this one. But we talked about Pods' back-to-back buckets early, back-to-back-to-back. He was feeling it. And unfortunately, that 23 points in the first 6 minutes of the game against that unreal defense was just a mirage. It was just walking through Camp Green Lake without a canteen and yellow spotted lizards everywhere, thinking that you're actually near an ice cream shop, and unfortunately you're not. That's the worst analogy ever. Half of you guys are like, what the hell is Camp Green Lake? The other half are like, that's a good one. Anyways, A good movement. I thought Gee had a great take at one point, the little spin and fade away as the shot clock expired. Like there were some moments where dudes were making individual plays happen. Now, there were some moments in the second half where Pat Spencer was lobbing it up to Gary Payton II like he was Manute Bol. I don't even know if Manute Bol could cram. I know he was a shot blocker, but name that 7-foot guy or 6'2" guy that has springs in his shoes that can throw down 5'9" Nate Robinson. Like that's who he thought Peyton was. And Peyton has those bunnies, but it did not work out well. There were a couple turnovers where Pat got a little overzealous with that lob play. Again, the Warriors' secret sauce these last few years, along with the Buddy Hield secret sauce that is no more, unfortunately. It's always been 30 assists and you win games. The Dubs had 37 of them today compared to their 11 turnovers. They did not play a bad basketball game. They were just overmatched completely. Again, I go back to the unbelievable effort, the unbelievable crowd that I thought the Dubs brought. There was a in unison refs you suck chant that was very loud. Congratulations to everyone in the stadium for bringing the effort. For a team that really you felt like before and even entering the fourth quarter had no shot. The faithful and Dub Nation was on their feet for this one. There was a bad foul by Santos to end the first half. Steve Kerr was irate, but that was not some game-changing moment because the Warriors went up by 16 again after that in the third quarter. And again, that 24-8 run by the Spurs to end the third, and I think it was like a 20-2 run by the Spurs to start the fourth quarter was just ball game. Couple things I want to get to. First of all, there is I can't believe we're still saying his name at this point, considering he plays for Atlanta and hasn't even suited up yet for his new team. But there was an article that came out by Anthony Slater that was kind of like the behind the scenes, all the tea that needed to be spilled tied into one article on why the Warriors, particularly Steve Kerr, were not too fond of Kuminga's buy-in to the team. There was a quote in there from a source or a member of the team that basically said Kuminga was all about his individual work with his, private trainers. But when it came to pointing to the practice floor, he wasn't into that. He wasn't into the team practices, that sort of thing. But he took one last jab on the way out that was kind of comical, to be honest with you. I'd heard the reports of it like 2 weeks ago and just assumed it was like a Twitter rumor or something. But it was that the Warriors front office was upset because Kuminga missed a team-related event, and then it kind of snuck in there. And also, a member close to Kuminga's party had been eating too much food or taking too much food from the family room. So basically, where the Warriors have food for friends and family, someone was going in and grabbing 45 boxes of chicken Alfredo and stuffing that in the duffel bag and taking it back to Camp Kuminga after. I don't know. It's strange. It was a little throwaway line in the article, but obviously someone tweeted it out and it has caused a stir. Are we talking 55 burgers, 55 fries, 55 potatoes, 55 pies, 10 coffees? Are we talking that amount of food, or was it just the Warriors being petty in this situation? They were in a petty off, but all I know is billion-dollar franchise. You could fork over the food to one of your guys, but it does sound like it was clear for a while that Kuminga was not one of their guys. He had his bags packed for a minute, kind of willing the trade to happen. So, hey, for both parties, the better thing did happen there. It brings in Kristaps Porzingis, who's a good basketball player, who is a legitimate piece that the Warriors could use when healthy. Like him, Jimmy, Steph, Draymond, if you're getting Kristaps Porzingis from game one a couple of years ago in the NBA Finals, like you're talking about the missing piece. You're talking about a team that legit has contention to them. Unfortunately, there's a couple factors here. One, Jimmy Butler is obviously hurt. He's not going to play the rest of the season. That's kind of big because Kristaps Porzingis isn't necessarily breaking down a defense and giving you a cure to some of the blues that you saw tonight. Now, fortunately, Steph Curry can do a ton of that to the point where you may be able to get by with a dynamite second half from Kristaps Porzingis. I'm not talking NBA championship. I'm just talking they can be competitive and a playoff team and sneak into that 6 or 5 spot. But that would require a dynamite second half of the season for Kristaps Porzingis, who has only played 17 games this season, who's been dealing with Achilles injuries and sickness, and has just not been the same player over the last couple of years. Now, take this any way that you want, but I think there's I would say 90%. We're not going to go with half. 90% of the Warriors camp, and by camp, I mean just fans. I don't know why I said camp. 90% of Dub Nation is looking at this like a glorified salary dump. Like we got off Buddy Hield and Kuminga had to go anyway. So trade him, bring in a player that's in an expiring deal and figure out if he has any sort of a future here, if he can stay healthy, if he's worth giving him, a DeAnthony Melton type contract next year. It'd be bigger than Melton's, but that type of, hey, 1-year deal, prove it, and you're going to get 2 years from someone else or from us for a lot more money. It's hard to fathom a situation where Porzingis is able to stay healthy after the season and a half that he has had. But we're seeing it right now with someone like DeAnthony Melton that, again, did not play any basketball the last couple of seasons. Melton's a knee, Porzingis due to sickness. It's just a little bit of a different situation there that depending on the doctor that you ask, I know Doc Pandya, shout out. He was basically saying that, no, it is a big deal. Like this is something that can linger and can cause some issues with just not necessarily vertigo, but just, the whole standing and sitting and that sort of thing. It can cause some issues. And there are other doctors out there that say, particularly probably Rick Celebrini, who, obviously was in on the decision to bring him in to a certain degree. It's crazy to say that a trainer was in on the decision, but Steve Kerr and Mike Dunleavy had alluded to the fact that they got with the training staff and they believe that they can work around this and that he can be an integral part of this year's team. And that's why they brought in a player on an expiring deal. I have no idea what to expect. The nice thing is all the talk surrounding Porzingis is that he should be back against his former team, the Boston Celtics, on the 19th after the All-Star game, and we will see. And that should be intriguing to people. It should be exciting. It should be something new for a team that's felt stale when Curry's not on the floor. It's just felt stale. Even tonight where they gave a valiant effort, probably played the best half they could have played all season against a team like San Antonio. And they had, 6 guys in double figures. They spread the wealth. They had 9 guys score more than 6 points. They just do not have it. And other teams have young players like Dylan Harper through the Spurs who you see the flashes and he scores his 14 off the bench. And the Warriors just don't have that, I mean, Podziemski outscored him with 16 today, and he's young. He's only a couple of years older than Dylan Harper, but every game that goes by where Podziemski just can't put these complete games together and struggles to hit open threes or struggles to break down a defense, whatever it is from Podziemski, I think every game that goes by, you lose a little less faith that you lose a little more faith, I should say, that he can be that guy. There's always been the discourse surrounding Dub Nation. Is Podziemski just a really good role player, a glue guy, someone that can fit in on a championship team, or is that someone that can be like a legit number 2? And it's hard to say. He's getting his minutes now, 36 minutes tonight is hard to say based on the large sample size that we've seen of him now in his third NBA season that he's anything more than a really good role player ever. That goes for Moses Moody too. And that goes for Keith Santos. That goes for Quentin Post. That goes for Gary Payton. The Warriors just do not have these young players that a lot of other teams do around the NBA, even a team like the Utah Jazz that you can look at and say, all right, this Keontae George guy can really turn into something. He's a future all-star. I don't think the Warriors have any of those dudes on their team. And when Curry's not out there and Jimmy Butler's out for the season, you really see the talent stack up and how discrepant it truly is in a game against a team that is now 38-16 on the season in San Antonio. They have more wins than they had all of last season, and they've already hit their over on the season entering the All-Star game. Speaking of the All-Star game, is Steph Curry going to play in it? Leave your thoughts on that. Leave your comments on where this team stands, 29-26 entering the All-Star break. Appreciate everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow.